Welcome to GlobalPolicyCast, a podcast which opens the inner workings of international governance through conversations with those who have shaped policy from insight to impact. Hosted by Insights International with its co-founder Arpit Chaturvedi and Suresh Kumar, a career civil servant with nearly 40 years of implementing policy on the ground. Global ideas, real governance. Welcome to Global PolicyCast.
India is an agricultural powerhouse, and yet we have tremendous inefficiencies in our agricultural system. In this episode, Mr. Suresh Kumar and I sit down with Dr. M.J. Khan, the founding chairman of the Indian Council of Food and Agriculture. Many who are outside policy circles may not believe this, but what I learned from this episode is that people who have a solid grounding and experience in policy areas such as agriculture with real field experience create a natural position for themselves where ministers and top policymakers listen to their advice. Mr. Khan highlights the problems of Indian agriculture and how the solutions are emerging from the ground and through ecosystems such as the Indian Council for Food and Agriculture. We also discuss how it is important to include subjects like artificial intelligence, technology, and draw from humanities, engineering, and management to make agriculture education better and not just about agriculture, but a whole range of disciplines in service of agriculture. So listen on in this episode of Global PolicyCast.
Thank you, Dr. Khan. It's good to have you here in this episode of the Policy Podcast. And since we have known each other, I know you've been doing a lot of good work on food systems and agriculture as head of the Indian Council of Food and Agriculture. Would you like to tell us more about the council and how is it connected with the agriculture policy making, the policies which are made on the food systems? And you are also involved in a lot of global and initiatives in very many other countries. Would you like to tell us about these initiatives and the work you're doing in agriculture and food sector?
Thank you, sir, for this. In fact, I got your communication quite some time back and I was keen. Indian Council of Food and Agriculture, this was a result of almost 14 years of discussions. It happened so that the Vajpayee government was there and Suresh Prabhu was the power minister. So he happened to meet the prime minister and there was a discussion that a focused body for food and agriculture representing farmers' interests and the agriculture in entirety, that should be created and to function on the principles of how the chambers work. So we kept on discussing, a lot of consultation meetings happened of key stakeholders, but we could not formalize our own acts together in a way to launch it and proceed with that because the revenue model, the structure, the agenda, working all was not clear. We kept on studying the models elsewhere, like Chinese Chamber of Food, Agriculture and Livestock Products. I was in Beijing, I think this was 2004. So what happened in the meantime, Vajpayee government was voted out, so there was a new government. So we thought that till the time we have that confidence building, we should not proceed with the launch. We kept on studying. Finally, in 2014, we got the correct model that I was looking at. That was Danish Council of Food and Agriculture. Danish ambassador came to our agriculture leadership summit that we started the series since 2008 and that it still continues. So we discussed with him and he invited us through embassy. So two of us went there and there was a Danish Council of Food and Agriculture, a big building opposite the Copenhagen Central Railway Station. So we spent full day and I got what I was looking for. So every answer that question I had and the answer I got there. They made a presentation. So I came back and then had a consultation meeting, again convened about 50 persons, and we decided that on the same models we launch it. So what that council was working and accordingly what we worked out for Indian Council of Food and Agriculture to work was that policy agenda and advocacy, because the policies are right, rest of the things follow. And the power of policies in determining the discourse of development that was less understood and now it is increasingly more understood. So your opening point that there is a renewed and more interest in policies. When the society is not developed, they only talk about the government. When it is a little more developed, they talk about the politics. And when they are more developed and understanding and mature, they talk about policies. So this is one. And the second was facilitating businesses, because businesses, if they unleash their potential, then the delivery of products and services and technology and creation of employment and all that follows. So that is businesses to be facilitated. And the third is in the case of be a platform for partnerships and dialogue and agenda and discussions so that more informed understanding, and also India's positioning worldwide in order to help the exports to grow. So these four areas, so essentially it is a policy kind of dialogue and discussion body to influence the policy. So for example, when we go to participate in the budget discussions, so we consult large number of people that we are going to meet the finance minister. What are the points that we should take up? So back to back in 2 years, if every other expert in that 20-member budget discussion got 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, I alone got three rounds put together about 20 minutes. So because we were prepared with that agenda. So if some organization works on policy dialogues and policy, so we started just after the Indian Council of Food and Agriculture was launched in 2015 and September month. So 2016, the whole year was devoted to policy dialogues and policy agenda. So through policy roundtables. So if we can break it up. So the policy roundtables that is started and that continue even now, sector specific. The idea was, let us say poultry sector. If it has 10 problems, 10 policy issues, if you are able to reform two or three or four, with that, how much it will be help in terms of unleashing its potential. So if you quantify with each policy change and that the issue that affects them, so how much it results into net growth and then contribution to the GDP. So that is how the background of Indian Council of Food and Agriculture Research, which was, I'm sorry, Indian Council of Food and Agriculture, which was renamed in 2019 as Indian Chamber of Food and Agriculture.
And I'm glad to hear that the chamber came up just to protect the kind of do policy advocacy and protect the farmers' interest. But one thing, Dr. Khan, you will appreciate that Indian agriculture system, the way it is viewed, while our policy may be successful, we've been able to increase production, agriculture production, food production, and increase productivity as well. But at the same time, the farmers are not really prosperous, are really not getting enough. And the farmers are generally found to be in distress. They protest. They are always found to be on the road. What do you think is wrong, has gone wrong with the policy that we are caring more for production and productivity and not for our farmers?
See, disproportionate sharing among the key stakeholders. Farmer is the primary stakeholder and the principal operator in the entire system. So agriculture has grown, the GDP of agriculture has grown in the same ratio, the benefit to the farmers have not come. So there is some unfair sharing has gone to other key stakeholders in the agriculture value chain or the food value chain. So put together, so that is one thing. See, the urban and rural income ratio that has been deteriorating for last 80, 90 years or 80 years to put it. So that is to be arrested in a way, more farmer-centric policies and more fair sharing of based on the efforts. For example, farmer puts in 3 to 4 months time, takes all the risks, he makes all the investment in raising the crops. What he earns is less than what the middlemen in 5 minutes of negotiation they make. So the material comes to the mandi and there's some price negotiation, all that happens. So the middleman makes in few minutes more money than what farmer with all risks and investment makes in 4 months time. So that part has been actually, this is one reason that why farmers have not been benefited out of the growth of agriculture. Now that new age of institutions in agriculture, for example, the agri startups, they are making good fortunes out of the opportunities in agriculture. So we can look at number of such growth stories, and surely the middlemen and the other operators have gained quite well out of agriculture, because it's, after all said and done, the size of Indian agriculture is quite big. And since there are a lot of distortions, it's valued to be about $600 billion, only second to China, which is just the double of it. And India is $200 billion more than US size of agriculture by value. So opportunities are huge. And since there are distortions and there are gaps and the value chains are broken, and therefore the opportunity is much greater.
Mhm.
So in that will result into a lot more value created. But without that value, the farmers, the principal operators, we have designed the policies for them to equally gain or gain in the proportion. So that is the question.
So, but do you think these possible reforms or possible corrections will happen and will happen in favor of farmers? And how soon can we see that agriculture policy is fine-tuned to cater more to the requirements of farmers, to cater and protect the interest of farmers or raise their income, as has been said by the government repeatedly that we need to double the farmers' income, but that doesn't seem to be happening. That's one thing. What kind of a reforms, what kind of a corrections in the policies are required to achieve this goal of doubling the farmers' income? Other thing is your Indian Council of Food and Agriculture, or now the you calling it Chamber of Food and Agriculture. Is there any plan to have chapters of ICFA in the states? Because at a national level, the chamber or the council has done substantial work. People know about it, people talk about it, and you've done policy advocacy and some new ideas and new things have happened over the years. I'm personally aware when I was Agriculture Secretary of Punjab. So we've been interacting also. But do you have any plans to open state chapters of the council? Number one. Number two, you have some global affiliations also. You must be gaining some experience, some guidance from the global organizations, global institutes where this ICFA is working, where the ICFA is affiliated. Are you as a person, as individual, also you are on the board, very many international bodies doing the work in agriculture and food sector. So how is ICFA is connected with the global institutes? And is there a plan to have a decentralized structure at the state levels?
Surely, the first part of the question, see, value is to be created. So, value creation is not happening in agriculture. Still, the majority of the produce sold is sold as commodity.
Mm.
So, where there is a very little value add. So, value is in processing, is in packaging, is in branding. So,
Mm.
that is one part of it. And the second is that agri businesses have to unleash its potential. Now, allocations being given to the agriculture sector, and some part of it comes to them by way of quarterly payment, that is grossly inadequate and that cannot take care of anything. So, this is one part of it. The value generation, value creation, and agri businesses to unleash their potential so that overall growth of the sector, for example, US agriculture sector value is about $400 billion, but the food sector value is about 3 trillion or 2.5, 2.6 trillion something. But Indian agriculture sector value is $600 billion, but the value of the food industry is only $750 billion. So very little value addition happening.
Mm.
So one side we see some 6 to 7 times, the other side we see just 25% more or 20% more. So this part has to be done. Now about ICFA, that's correct, sir. What you are saying that agriculture is a state subject. So action and decisions and actual difference has to be made by the states. So ICFA, whatever policies it may influence and whatever support it can extend or whatever platforms it can create in terms of stakeholders coming together and brainstorming or forming partnerships and all that, it may not go down till the time the action started at the state level or better coordination or engagement with the state governments. So that we realized very early. We created the state agriculture councils in Karnataka, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh, and northeastern region. Punjab, I think, just day after on Tuesday, 2 3 days later, the team is going to meet the Secretary of Agriculture. He has invited for the purpose of creating the Punjab Agriculture Council to better coordinate with the rest of the country, what all examples and success models exist, and also in terms of central level coordination. So I believe that ICFA should be completing the creation of a state agriculture council this year in 3 4 or 5 more states. Then it will be more
But,
impactful.
but Dr. Saab, you agree in principle that there is a need to have councils or state chapters of the councils for more effective action, for more effective discussions, more participatory discussions with the farmers and to protect farmers' interests.
Not only state level, definitely the direct answer is that ICFA kind of organization must have state level platforms created by the name of council or whatever the name. The idea is that one platform must bring all the key stakeholders and work on the shared agenda and shared future. there is no such body existing, unfortunately, at the state level. A government sector has only the government players coming onto it. So this can bring largely the industry, the developmental bodies, the research bodies, and the policy making institutions and individuals at one platform to look at that what the potential the state has got and how we can create backward and forward linkages, how we can accelerate the investment, and more importantly, how we can assist the state governments in better policy makings, riding on the successful examples and policies of the other states or elsewhere in the world, and also accelerating the exports, because if exports increase, then everything in the value chain improves. It's like that. In management, we say if there is a competition, then everything is improved.
Okay. But how do you connect with the international bodies or global institutions which are working in the second food and agriculture sector? Because I believe ICFA works very closely with some of the international bodies, and we do learn and we need to learn from international experience as well.
See, two aspects of this. One is that we have a lot of partnerships signed with the worldwide chambers and technology institutions and such developmental bodies. Second, the activities and events to be organized elsewhere, because ICF is the only agriculture chamber which is recognized by the Ministry of Commerce for market access support program, which means program that is submitted can be funded by the Ministry of Commerce to do any program or event elsewhere. Second part is learning from the success models and experiences and stories in other countries. Surely that scaling, capturing the success stories is scaling up and scaling out for the benefit of the farmers of India and maybe farmers of other countries as well. So through these partnerships, we are able to, one, understand the market dynamics, market trends, the market opportunities, investment opportunities, and two, the success stories on the farming side and the success stories on startup sides. Because both are important, the production side of it and the post-production side of it. I believe that what ICFA has done so far and is able to do, much more required to be done on this front, because from the production mindset that all our policies and all our education system, the extension system was designed. Now that India has become in surplus situation in most of the commodities, except of course two, then now the mindset has to change from managing the deficits and maximize the production as the mantra to success to capturing the market through better export competitiveness and therefore better quality and better the logistics and supply and value chain management.
Over to you, Arpit.
Thank you. Very interesting overview, sir. I would go back to something a bit more fundamental. What, in your opinion, is the number one priority for India's agriculture policy? Is it food security, or is it farmers' welfare, or is it global competitiveness? You might say all three, but if you were to rank them, then how would you do that?
No doubt the first one. You have very rightly, actually, in the same sequence you have talked about,
Yeah.
surely the food security. That is because with food security is the political security and the national security.
Yes.
So it has got to be. So there is no doubt about it. The story of last 7 or 8 decades, and that continues largely now only because Sir has been the Secretary of Agriculture
Yes.
and that also held. In Rabi conference and the Kharif conference that the government of India organizes, these two conferences, every time it is the discussion on fertilizer availability is there, the seed is available. So talking about inputs only, there was hardly any discussion that have you been able to export anything?
Yep.
Have you been able to attract more investment? Have you been able to create the value chains in different crops? There was no discussion. I must have attended 10 or more.
Yes.
So that is deficit mindset. And similarly, about 40 subjects we study in the agriculture revision. I think all 40 belongs to the production management side. There was none about the crop management, or there was none of the marketing management. There were none of the finance management, none of the enterprise management. So there was zero. Now, there is definitely there are some agribusiness programs have come up, but it's still not the integration of the concepts of management into the agriculture production system. So which means if the concepts of management or the one subject of management is taught to the BSc agriculture fellow, total now number of subjects he studies are probably 46 or 48, then he will be able to leverage upon the understanding of the concepts of management to put to use these rest of the 46 or 48 subjects that he studies. So that has been like these years.
And when we are talking about, as you said, food security is the number one objective. this is for the benefit of our audience, because I feel that if that is our number one objective, then of course opening up the agricultural markets in an abrupt manner would be problematic for a country like this, like ours. Would you agree?
Let me completely answer the first one also. So the
Yes.
top most priority is definitely the food security, and now the topmost need is the actually export promotion, that is capturing the
Okay.
global market. Because once you are at the international market, you'll have to improve the quality, you'll have to reduce the cost of production so as to be more competitive, and that will be possible only when there is a better logistics, better laboratory testing systems, and better value chain development, and very improved supply chain systems.
Yeah.
So all that get automatically improved. So now the priority has to be shifted because we are self-sufficient or surplus in most of the commodities except from time to time in pulses and surely in oil seeds. So
Hmm.
that part has to be there. Now look at the Agriculture Ministry, Government of India. I think 10 joint secretaries, 9 handles only production side of the work. The 10th handle part of his duty, one more portfolio, and then of course the international cooperation. So
Okay.
this has to undergo a change. So orientation of the state machinery to the international market, to the export opportunities, that is completely missing. So, very first question about ICW's state level, I think there is a need for district level councils
Hmm.
because while states monitor the progress and this thing, delivery unit in India is continues to be the district.
Yeah.
Whatever programs and policies of the central government or the state government, the district. So, therefore, district is very important. So, this kind of convergence platform is missing at the district level also. Having said that, now I come to this your current question.
Yeah.
Can you repeat it
So
for?
before that, can you deep dive a little bit into why the districts are important? Because eventually the supply chains are managed through districts, or
No, the delivery of all the programs and policies is done through the district administration.
yeah,
Secondly, all the monitoring, the quality enforcement, that all is done also by the, for example, if there are fake and spurious pesticides or
yes,
seeds, there is the
yes,
district administration
Yeah,
is.
if I may come in at this stage, Arpit,
yes, sir.
you would realize that more than the senior or middle level bureaucracy, which is of course important, which is what a permanent establishment is in this country, in our country, but at the same time, the street level bureaucracy is more important. Invariably, in our policies and program, the missing governance gap is that we do not build the capacity of our street level bureaucracy, and that is where what we in the common language we call is the district level bureaucracy, district administration, headed by the collector. But down the line, you have at taluk level, at block level, you have very many agriculture inspectors, agriculture development officers, agriculture extension officers. These are the people who directly deal with the producers, the agriculture producers, and the farmers. They need
Yes,
to know. They need to know, and they need to be involved in consultations on policy making, in consultation, particularly the implementation part of policy. You see, we may discuss the content of policy at any level. Implementation of policy needs to be discussed at the grassroots level or at the street level so that the message at the implementation level is the intent of the policy is known at that level and message goes to the farmers or the producers in right perspective. That is what probably Dr. Khan is emphasizing. Yes, I do
got it.
agree with that we need to have, apart from having the state chapters of the council, we should have the district chapters and connect with farmers through the district council. That's the point is very well taken, Dr. Khan. Thank you.
Yeah. No, so thank you so much, Mr. Kumar and Dr. Khan. My question earlier was, Dr. Khan, that if, let's say, food security is our main focus, then of course it makes sense that we cannot abruptly open up the agricultural sector, because that gives a fair bit of leverage to foreign markets on the agricultural sector. But if export becomes our main focus, then you cannot be exporting without opening up your own markets to a certain degree. So, don't you think these become sort of competing demands?
See, there is no doubt about it that market reforms are required because inefficiencies are there. The logistics and the storage and the infrastructure that is required, that is missing. Supply chain and value chains are broken. There is exploitative marketing also, that is a reality.
Hmm.
And the monopoly of the government alone cannot solve the address the future challenges. So all that put together, there is no doubt that we need to reform our market, open them up, have the competition, and through that, more opportunities. Now, Government of India tried to do few years back, COVID period. It was less about the provisions of the reforms that was under question. The more came that intention,
Yes.
and and before any major reform, it has to proceed with a large scale communication to the concerned parties, to the stakeholders. So
Hmm.
what was missing was the confidence building measures, and there was strong reasons farmers to doubt the intention of the government, because instead of consulting the farmers and such bodies before proclamation or ordinances were brought in, it consulted FICCI and CII, none of the agriculture bodies, none of the farmers bodies. That is
Hmm.
one. And the urgency by which they brought the ordinance, ideally there should have been a year-long deliberations,
Consultation.
communication and consultations. So before any prior communication, large scale reform, which people tend to see, there is a philosophically people tend to resist the change.
Yeah.
So well, fundamental philosophy that is accepted in the management principles. So such a big decision and consultation is happening with the industry bodies and not with the farmers body, and no communication preceding the, and then the urgency by which, instead of through the proper discussion in the both the houses of the parliament, it was taken the ordinance route. People
Hmm.
could not understand that what was the urgency. This was not a warlike situation that you had to attack immediately, so therefore ordinance is needed. So
Yeah.
all that put together actually eroded the farmers' confidence, aided by the fact that there were two fundamental wrongs in that, and their farmers were right in resisting that. We may disagree with farmers on many things, but here they found a reason. There was zero tax outside the mandi and there was a tax inside the mandi, which means if you go to the government mandi, it becomes costly, you sell outside. So outside players will have an advantage. One that, so that is the that was the crux, which
Okay.
means the management to the farmers that the government mandis will get into losses because of the 2% or 3% extra tax or the tax on that, and the private sector will be in profit. So over a period of time, government will have reasons to close down these mandis and head over entire marketing operation to the private sector. So these dots connected. So farmers were very doubtful about that. So it was less bad about the provisions of these reforms, more about the way they were brought.
But why was that such a okay? Yeah. So you're saying that fundamentally that idea was not a wrong idea. It's just that the confidence building was not done.
Surely, in fact, this government, the center, has somehow it makes announcement first and then has the control on the media. So has the confidence that nothing will go bad in the media. Let the people do murmuring. In this case, what happened? The Punjab farmers, they took it to the street. If
Dr. Khan,
that
this
was
is
not
not
the
only
case,
about this government, this is about all governments that they make the announcements first and then give a handout to the bureaucracy to make a policy accordingly. So this is where the policy making has gone wrong in this country, that it's not really the need-based, evidence-based or database. It in particularly in agriculture sector, the one of the drawbacks, I don't know, you may have your views on that. One of the drawbacks in agriculture policy is the invariably the views of experts, the views of scientists are ignored. Take, for example, the case of free electricity and free water in Punjab, particularly, and in most of the states otherwise also. Now, the most scientists are saying that don't give free water and free electricity because this is damaging your soil. It is the energy consumption is rising, energy cost is rising. At the same time, the soil quality is going down. So, despite all the scientific recommendations and scientific inputs on that, the states, the policy makers at the state level, and the policy maker happen to be the politicians in government. So they do not listen, and still free power and free electricity continues despite the scientists or experts telling us against that. That being so, when the policies are not informed, particularly in food and agriculture sector, by the scientists' recommendation or expert recommendation, what do we need to do to see that more and more policies are framed on the basis? As you rightly said, even the farm laws were surely not wrong. I mean, I have gone through personally, I was in government that time. There was nothing wrong in the farm laws. Probably the stakeholders were not consulted. Probably the corporate memory, the past since the Green Revolution was not gone into, how the policies evolved, what kind of policy inputs were taken from the stakeholders, and what kind of actions were taken Had those past experiences were considered and the farmers were consulted, probably the laws would have been more refined and laws would have succeeded. That being so, if today we need to change the policy, we need to kind of fine tune the policy. What do you think should be done by the governments, be that the state governments and central government? You are right. Agriculture state subject, the largely the responsibility is with the states, but it is driven, most reforms and most actions are driven, or programs are driven by the central government, being more centralized financing of the program, more centralized direction to the food policies, because food imperatives of the food security are more important than anything else. So what do you think should be done to fine tune the policies?
There is no doubt about the governments have been ignoring the advices, or they have not been taking into account what comes from the experts or comes from the scientific community and so on. Two examples I can cite: the BT cotton, and that now that BT brinjal and others. So scientific institutions have one stand, and the government does not care about them. So one wrong is that most of the scientific institutions are this governmental or semi-governmental. So outside the government, those kind of think tanks have to come up. So the centrality or say of the scientific institutions, the professional bodies into the policy making. So this is one very important thing. The second is that consultation process, there should be a process laid down for making the policies. It is not only the parliamentary standing committees, which have their own political agenda and limited vision. The professional bodies like in US, they have to come up and their say in the decision making have to be taken into account. And so are the scientific bodies. For example, any matter related to science, and agriculture is largely the science. So the National Academy of Agriculture Sciences can be one important body. Their job is, unfortunately, that they say we are a scientific body, but under the government. So if government asks us, we can go. Unlike private sector, they manufacture, produce the product, and then they advertise it so much, buy my product. So if the private sector scientific institution is there, whatever work they do, they will start then highlighting so much that government will be compelled to call them. Unlike the government people, they will do it and they'll keep silent till the time they are asked to do so. So therefore, the important stakeholders, most importantly, the scientific bodies and the professional bodies, they have to be taken into account, their recommendation. And then in the policy making, there should be a well laid down process that you need to consult these stakeholders, and surely the people who are going to be affected. So in the market reform, sir, it was not so much about the provisions of the three laws, it was more about the process of bringing them. So that created the situation.
But do you think, Mr. Khan, that the policy making, particularly in the agriculture and food sector, policy making should be codified? It should be proper. The process should be codified so that all the state and central bodies follow that. That's one. Second thing is, what you are suggesting is we need structural changes in agriculture sector. The existing research and development, existing bodies are all centralized or provincialized, and they are all what we, you know it better than anybody else, that everything is governed, but what we call is a ICAR system. Everything is controlled. Is there a possibility of privatizing or opening up research and development in agriculture and food to the private sector? Should it be done? Can it be done?
I think, sir, government should not be driven by the sense of ownership. It should be driven by the sense of what comes out, the outcome.
It's a purpose.
Either correct, purpose driven policies. So if you are able to, being in the private sector, do better, make utilization of the funds and come out with the solution. And I, being the government job is not to only take care of our salary, they pay us salary for the results. So if I am liking consistent in the results, the government should give more and more funds to you. So surely the government should, for the purpose of the outcome, treat private and public sector on the equal or at par. So that is one important change that has to happen. The second is that what you said to codify, surely that processes can be well laid down. Now that India is about 80 years old democracy, it's a sufficient time for everything. So it is not only about food and agriculture, but also for all sectors, the processes are bringing the policies, and the institutions which do policy research and advocacy, they need to be encouraged, and at times need be can be funded also. Then finally, for example, in case of agriculture, some key stakeholders are there whose practical experience, the ground realities, and that wisdom is so much that government must necessarily listen. For example, when this farm laws, that time I was one who was coming probably maximum time on the television and tried to balance for a year and a half in a way that neither government was upset with the farmers' bodies. So in one of the meetings with the agriculture minister, first we had at Rajnath Singh's house. In fact, when the rounds of consultation, the farmers were being counted, that first round, second round, third round, fourth round, 11th round kind of thing. There were 4 rounds of discussion which were not actually gone to public, and that were hosted by me, defense minister's house. So agriculture minister was there in all the 4 meetings. Then one day it happened that after that meeting, the agriculture minister asked me to come to with him to his office. So there we found some few NGOs and few FPOs and few other farmer leaders. I don't know what they represented, but the quality of discussion, I must say, it was much better than the best experts of the country they could have come, because they were bringing so much the practical dimension, the ground understanding, and that wisdom. We could speak anything very well in English or whatever, whichever language, but the ground wisdom that they were bringing to the table, enormous. So that meeting opened up my eyes, and then of course at the state level consultation that we do, ICFA also has got 3 district agriculture councils, and that network need to expand it. So the district agriculture council meetings, whenever I attend, so much of the ground reality, so much of the practical wisdom, and these people come up with the ideas that generally we don't otherwise listen to any top level meeting. So these people have also, for example, now, sir, in agriculture system in India, there are some new age institutions like FPOs are there, agri clinic, agribusiness centers are there. They are about 40,000, more effective, doing more job, but less talked about, less known. FPOs are being talked about. They are in glamour and in fashion, but these ACABCs, they are doing wonderful job. They are all the agriculture entrepreneurs, but they are not under discussion anywhere. So
What is
that is
ACABC, sir?
agri clinic, agribusiness centers.
Okay.
It is a scheme of the Government of India executed through Manage Hyderabad National Institute of Agriculture Extension Management, which has about 50 partners throughout the country who provide 2 months training, and 50% of them have to start their agri ventures before they qualify for the next batch to be approved.
Okay.
So that is there. Then cooperative bodies are there, and then now about 11,000 or 12,000. The number ranges from 11,000 to 14,000. The EdTech startups, EdTech and food tech startups. So all institutions are there. So for any important policy making, ideally, each of these institutions, the farmer producers organizations who represent the farmers dimension, the agri entrepreneurs, the agri startups who represent the newest technology-driven commercial enterprises, and
Yes.
the cooperative bodies. So all these can be taken into account. Of course, the traditional who have been consulted for trying, for example, academies and the media people and industry bodies, they are there. So surely policy making has to process has to be more sound, and it has got to be more system based, and all the key stakeholders to be listened to, and their concerns to be responded.
And I have a very direct question on this, but before that, I'll get back to your saying that agriculture education is not holistic in our country. 46, 48 subjects are taught in the agriculture universities and agriculture colleges, but most of them are related to production, or 90% are related to production, or what we've been calling is input management, input supplies, and things like that. At the same time, the new subjects, the artificial intelligence, the information technology, the computing, the business management, the policy, the public policies, these subjects are not taught in the agriculture universities. In fact, the place where I'm sitting, close to it is a Fresno Agriculture Universities, and I'm in California these days, and I go very frequently to UC Davis universities. Both these universities, all the students of agriculture programs and agriculture courses do take subjects not only of humanities but also in computer science and mechanical engineering and civil engineering, because here the belief is that agriculture science, the students of agriculture science must know computing, must know information technology, must know artificial intelligence, because these technology driven or data sciences are also equally important. for agriculture sector as they are for other sectors. In fact, to tell you the truth, the president of Fresno State University is a poet. He is a Mexican, US-based Mexican, and he is basically, his basic degree is, and his doctorate is in poetry, and he is a poet. But he says, and I have been interacting him very very frequently, and he says, I know more agriculture than the agriculture scientist. That being apart, to make the agriculture colleges and universities multidisciplinary, to see that the students get holistic education than merely focusing on production functions of agriculture sector or production functions or input management. We need to see that agriculture education becomes holistic. How do we do it? That's a big challenge. The fact is that 50%, nearly over 50% students in our agriculture universities and colleges belong to rural areas, but only 4% go back to agriculture. When educated youth is not going back to agriculture, they are not staying in agriculture. What is the future of our agriculture? And that's a worrying phenomena. How do we retain the young farmers, the educated youth who have agriculture knowledge, the modern agriculture education? How do we retain and attract them to agriculture? I'm sure you may be hearing these issues when you travel to other countries and you travel to other states, and all of the states are facing the similar situation as it Punjab. So, what's your take on how do we retain youth in agriculture?
And so, one question from a layman's perspective, just adding to yours, is that what you said students who are going to agricultural universities are coming from rural areas, but what type of, so are they small farmers, kids of small farmers who are coming to these universities? Or, if only you're an established farmer, you think that, okay, I can get some education and do something with it. And you also said that they're not going back to agriculture. Then why are they coming to these universities? What are they doing after that?
Thank you. They are coming there to get a job. If somebody, see, the spend on the knowledge component in agriculture is the lowest of all the inputs that goes into farm production. There was a study by the Planning Commission, earlier named, now it is Niti Aayog, that of all the spendings of the farmer, the spending on the knowledge is the lowest, which unless it is a intellectually stimulating activity, it will not be able to attract the youth. Unless there is a glamour attached to it, youth will not be attracted. Unless there is a technology component into it and it looks like a high tech, and youth will not be attracted to it. So all these put together, and if there is no sufficient investment and sufficient opportunities and sufficient social approval, there is a difficulty in retaining. Only by lecturing them that you should stay and you should come back to do farming, it is not going to happen.
Yeah.
Fortunately, there is a, even though a smaller trend, but there is a definite trend that some very highly educated people are coming back to agriculture because they see big time opportunities in agriculture. They see there is a challenge because youth like challenge. There is a distortion. There is a value loss. There is a broken chains, and there is a gross or big opportunity in this sense that the price at which the produce is sold in its as it is condition, and the price that one can get after adding little value. So that is nowhere in no other country and in no other industry that is possible. For example, the producer gets rupees 5 for tomato year round average. If you take out, the consumer pays rupees 20 or 25 if year round average you take out. So the 400% gap between what producer gets and what consumer pays is there in no industry and in no other country. Now, this 400% does not come to the pocket of the marketer. There is a value loss. So how this value can be plugged? So through digital technologies, for example, through e-commerce, through better logistics management, that is possible. So if we are able to reduce the inefficiencies by, let us say, 50%, so we have got 200% margin available to be shared between producer and consumer, or maybe producer, consumer, and the marketer. So what is most important is that the opportunities that are available there for value addition, for enterprise creation, and also for the glamour in it. Now the digital technologies are making that possible. For example, earlier, just plowing the land and putting some inputs, including seed, and you watch for it, and then if the pests are there, manage it, and then harvest it, job is done. Today, the best practices anywhere in the world, these are available on your mobile and digital technologies that are eliminating the gap between what is done in US today is same time available in India or anywhere in the world. Earlier, the gap used to be 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. What was in US in 50s came to India in 80s or 90s. So that is no longer there.
Yeah.
So all these developments, and then the value of agriculture produce is also going up, which means from 1 hectare, there are examples that people are able to harvest 15 lakh, 20 lakh, 30 lakh rupees from value from 1 hectare. So the opportunity for going value added crops and then adding value to what is produced and then packaging and branding it. So there are a lot of success stories and people are making tons of money, those who have been able to make money. Unfortunate part is that the traditional farming, no matter how successful they were earlier, and the nostalgia they must have that we gave the food security of the country is not going to sustain for long.
So can you
Change
give
has
an example of a success story? How is somebody able to do really well in this?
Yesterday only in Dubai, while we were having the blueberries, somebody told that these blueberries are coming from some place in Maharashtra, some entrepreneur he named. Now, few days back before coming, I was with one gentleman, very successful person in agri enterprises development. He is the chairman and founder of the Indigrams Labs Foundation. He comes from
Okay.
Maharashtra. And he himself is I am Ahmedabad graduate. So he was giving the examples of quite a few friends of his who grow the blueberries and they harvest about 20-25 lakh rupees per hectare. Similarly, different kind of other vanilla crop in Kerala, people are harvesting 15, 20, 30 lakh rupees. So there are many such examples. Somebody started doing saffron
No,
in
how
Pune.
come they are able to do that and not others?
There is always there somebody maybe very successful entrepreneur startup, the others may not be.
Yeah, so their main thing is that they've cracked the marketing code well and the how to export it well, is it?
One is that the people who are venturesome, who can be the first mover advantage they get, and the
Hmm.
people who are driven by the ideas, and but ideas come out of practical exposure also.
Yeah.
See, workable ideas are that you put thinking into it and you have some exposure of it. If you don't
Yeah.
have exposure, then these are plain, theoretical ideas. And if you only
Yeah.
keep on thinking and no exposure, then probably, have the exposure but no thinking, that means no action. So
Yeah.
then exposure remains with you only without action on that.
But
Yeah.
Mr. Khan, you would appreciate that these examples you are giving, they are honeybee efforts. They are not only in blueberries and cherries and things like that. There are banana crops, there are crops and mangoes we have in Punjab, the kinus and the seed potatoes Punjab is exporting. So these honeybee efforts are being made and honeybee success stories are always there. But the fact is that, as Arpit was saying, the knowledge is not being spread or shared or updated as fast as it should be. You refer
Hmm.
to agri clinics, you refer to agri business centers, you refer to FPOs. Yes, true. But not much is happening in these, much is known about these for the simple reason that extension reforms are very, very slow. Agriculture extension reforms are very, very slow. One reason is the existing agriculture extension machinery, again, under the centralized mode of ICR system, under the universities and Directorate of Agriculture, the agriculture extension officials are not neither knowledgeable or their knowledge is not updated. They do not do as much legwork as was done by the agriculture extension officers when the Green Revolution was envisaged, when the efforts to make the country food secure was being made. Agriculture extension was one of the success stories where agriculture departmental officers or the agriculture officers from the Krishi Vigyan Kendras and agriculture universities or very many other, even private trusts and NGOs did a lot of work in guiding, in facilitating, in creating awareness amongst the farmers. These efforts are not commensurate with the requirement of the modern growth paradigm and modern latest growth paradigm. First, we need to build the capacity of agriculture extension officers, update and upgrade their knowledge, and even expand the system. Also, again, going back to what I said, I don't know whether you agree with this and what's your experience on that. As I said, that we need to consider privatization of R&D efforts in agriculture and food sector. Likewise, why can't agriculture extension work be assigned to NGOs, to private sector, and maybe they will do a better job at a lesser cost to the government. So do you think there is a case for next generation extension reforms? Can agriculture extension reform be privatized, be opened up to private sector to achieve the best of the government initiatives, whether they are agri clinics, FPOs, agribusiness, even in making the agriculture education more holistic, more inclusive?
Surely, I think that applies to research also, that applies to extension also, because irrespective of who does it, private sector person does it, the government department does it, or the university system does it, or any entrepreneur does it, it's same thing. It has got to be outcome linked. What is the outcome? What is the impact? So extension being funded for the sake of some people are employed and their own knowledge is not updated to the current realities and future challenges. So, for example, the priority and the strategy was to maximize the production using the traditional technologies through the input management and agronomic practices. Today, a lot more has changed. Now, efficiency in agriculture production system using best of the innovative models and also digital technologies, whether the current extension functionaries are updated to that, the answer is no. Then how to go about it? These entrepreneurs are very fast in adopting the latest changes and development. So they can be against the budget, they have to commit to deliver that. So probably the privatization of the extension, where more of the technology centric extension system through the new breed of entrepreneurs may result into better impact than increasing the funding to the existing extension system. So surely I would be in agreement to this change, and this change is long overdue.
You refer to Mr. Khan about farmers' distress in market. The market transformation, market system reforms, which were aimed at through three farm laws, has not really worked well because of whether the processes were not right or whether the content or intent was not right. But one of the issue which remains, even despite the agitation being over, is the MSP.
Mhm.
Now, farmers are demanding not only the continuation of MSP, which was the only market innovations after the Green Revolution, and that is one of those success stories of MSP and government procurement that has ensured the food security also. Do you agree with the MSP guarantee which is being demanded by the farmers? For the simple reason, because 85-86% farmers happen to be small and marginal farmers. They do not have the wherewithal to negotiate with big traders in the private mandis, or in the mandis which is dominated by the private buyers. So in that case, they need government support by way of MSP guarantees. Do you agree with that? If we have to continue with this system, what is the way forward in terms of market reforms? Now, that is one big thing. Other related issue on the marketing is that we keep talking about that farmers should get into capture mandis outside the countries, outside their respective states. Punjab farmers should look at the mandis in the South India and Western India, and like Western India should look at other places. Northeastern states are generally short of foods, so there's a lot of scope of sending agriculture produce to those. But farmers do not get agriculture information on markets. Agriculture market intelligence system is very weak. The agriculture commodity exchange system is not really. Take for example the state like Punjab, which is food surplus, which produces 40% of country's requirement, do not have a agriculture commodity exchange, do not have any market intelligence system, do not even have agriculture policy. Stated agriculture policy. It's bits and pieces, ad hoc efforts are made to meet the demands or issues or settle the issues or resolve the issues of farmers. As a result, there is no cohesive, integrated approach to farmers' welfare. approach to attend to the grievances of farmers, and we see farmers always protesting on the roads. So, what's your take? How do we see that the farmers do not protest, their issues are resolved? What is a systemic solution for this? And should we continue with MSP? If we have to continue, how long can we continue with MSP?
Surely, sir, let us face the reality. This current MSP system is unsustainable. Because of the political reasons, it is continuing. And before any big change happens, this time at least, the political communication has to change. For example, in Punjab, the leaders are very fond of saying that every grain will purchase. So as long as this communication continues to be delivered for one upmanship, farmers mentally continue to depend upon that everything government has to buy.
Yeah.
Now this communication has to change before actual change that has to start, because this is unsustainable. There is no question about it. Now, what is to be done? One is that trade has to be opened up within the country. It has to be absolutely made free, and more efforts on integrating with the global markets. But second aspect of that, before that, little more efforts or substantially more efforts have to go into improving the cost of production and improving the quality of output. If that happens and our competitiveness increases, then we are in a better position to open up, because protecting our agriculture market for too long is also unsustainable. In the trade negotiation and trade deals, and someday some countries takes India to WTO, and it has been taken quite a few times. And at least what we saw a few days back in the trade negotiation and proceeding to that many months with the US. So this is also unsustainable. Protecting our agriculture only on the strength of high tariffs and not improving the competitiveness to be able to open up to the international market. So these two things are there. Then the private sector have to be encouraged in procurement. Otherwise, government at the end of it, if farmers are not able to sell it and they start protesting, they will do. So no matter what the communication, if the situation is of distress, the protest is inevitable. So to preempt that, what is required to be done is that there should be more number of operators in that. For more number of operators to be there in the business, they have to be profitable, because if there is no profitability, private sector will stay away. No matter how much invitation, let us go to them that please come to my state, they will never come. Which means efficiency has to be improved, the productivity has to be improved, the cost of production has to be improved, so that there is a sufficient margin available which compensate the farmers well, and also it is a market competitive for large international and national buyers to step into. So this openness has to be done. The key lies in improving the farming efficiency and the cost of production. So if that two things are there, then the policies, and of course preceding that, the political communication has also to change, because something which is inevitable, if not today, tomorrow it has to change. Better to change today, so that cost of changing tomorrow, so that period, the cost that government has to incur, ultimately you and me, that can be saved.
But Mr. Khan, you will appreciate, and I'm glad you touched that subject, that the input efficiencies need to be increased. Fortunately or unfortunately, most of the policies, when we examine, when we frame the policies, even I've been, as you know, that I've been in government, as and when we discuss policy making, we've never discussed input efficiency. Water productivity, water use efficiency is 30, 40, 37, 35, 40%. Fertilizer use efficiency is low. The soil productivity is compared to low. World over, the water use efficiency or input efficiency on the whole is 70, 75%. Whereas in India, we find it around less than 50 or around 40%. Some data is available. Not much research has been done. But why do you think the policies are not really, they discuss how much subsidy to be given, how much quantity of fertilizer to be given, what kind of a fertilizer to be given? Never ever in any of the budget announcements, the policy announcements of the government or the program formulation, we discuss input efficiency, agri input efficiency, water use efficiency, fertilizer use efficiency, soil productivity. These issues are not discussed. Why are they being ignored for too long in policy making?
Sir, we as a country or we as a society actually are very comfortable in responding to the cost of crisis than spending a fraction of that in preventing that consequence or that crisis. So that is there. For example, both you have touched rightly, water use efficiency and fertilizer use efficiency, they are hovering about 40%. Now, 5% of the subsidy that goes into fertilizers If that is spent on, number one, funding the R&D in fertilizers, from what broadcasting method we have been wasting 60% of the fertilizers and causing environmental pollution. So investment in R&D, we had NPK 46 and what ratio 70 years back, the same continues. Same urea, same NPK, which we had done 70 years back. All other industry, at least 700 new products have come. So there is no innovation, there is no R&D, and some fertilizer company CEOs told me that why to spend in that when our job is only to manage the subsidies and manage the logistics. We don't have to compete at the marketplace. We don't need to invest in the innovation. We only need to manage the subsidies, liaison with the government well so the timely subsidy comes. So if that is so who is bothered about the fertilizer use efficiency? Secondly, water use efficiency. If the farmer gets cheap water, he's comfortably in flowing that through the flood irrigation, he's suffocating the crop. Over irrigation is actually suffocation of the crop, resulting into lower yields. So more water, because it is coming free, it is like that. Lunch is buffet available. We eat twice what we need, not realizing that the actually consequence will be paid by me, even though the food is free. So this mind is continuing. So the use efficiency, not only that, fertilizer and water, also the agrochemicals, the crop. See the consequences of continuing use of chemicals and overuse of chemicals. Now the we all see that how it is resulting into health crisis and all that people are facing. So surely there is a need for India and for that matter, most of the other countries also move from what is available, time tested and well result proven, that precision farming model. So Tamil Nadu state in India was one which under open field conditions proved that precision farming can be successful with the yield obtained as high as 40 to 800% more in different crops, and that has been audited by top 10 institutions of the world. Even I have gone there twice. So the precision farming models, they are designed in a way, if you well practice them, so minimum use of inputs for maximum output that we get. So that has to be actually implemented nationwide. So two things, when this doubling farmers income came, I happened to have a meeting with the Honorable Prime Minister. He asked this announcement, how do you see? In a lighter mode, I said, sir, you have given 6 years time, it can be done in 2 years time. He said, what are you saying? I said, of course it can be done. You are not talking about doubling the production, you are talking about doubling the incomes. Tomorrow you make an announcement, increase the procurement price by double, the income is doubled. So if reduce the if you can reduce the post harvested losses, there is an increased income. If we can promote allied agribusinesses, then the income goes up. If we can intensify the crop production or crop intensity goes up, the income goes up. So there are many ways. Or high value cropping is done, or some dairy farming and all this integrated. So there are many ways that incomes can be improved. So precision farming, then 2 weeks later, Professor Swaminathan chaired that meeting. Dr. Dalwai, who later on became the chair of the Interministerial Committee on Doubling Farmers' Income, he was also there. Secretary Agriculture Patnaik was also there. So very high power, because they knew that this meeting is happening because Prime Minister wanted it. So we discussed that. Two things, two recommendations we came up in that. And Dr. Dalwai, after 2 years of hard efforts, he also came up with those only 6 areas where the improvement can be done, with two broad recommendations. The broad recommendation were, number one, in production side, we need to move to the precision farming. That is a silver bullet. Second, we need to create commodity boards, crop specific, because the dynamics of cotton production and marketing are totally different than the dynamics of poultry. Poultry will be totally different from sugarcane, or the cotton from sugarcane and poultry from dairy, let us put it like that. So each commodity has its own distinct production dynamics and very distinct marketing dynamics. So putting them together as an agriculture basket and then trying to talk either improving production or improving the marketability or improving the profitability doesn't make any sense. It has to be discussed commodity wise, either a crop or a. So these two recommendations only that we made, that while we are looking at 6 areas, interventions in those can improve the farmer's profitability. But these two, if we do it, probably we have done the job. Precision farming and the commodity boards.
So one question, for the lay audience who are probably not involved in agriculture, they would listen and they would probably think that, A, what do these boards do and how do these boards help in, increasing profitability?
See, most of the boards in India, we have actually got the boards under the government. So
Yes.
these are tea board and coffee board and all that. So spices board and even some bodies are not named as boards like EPIDA and MPIDA, but they are essentially the commodity boards only.
Yeah.
But little wide spectrum commodity coverage. But worldwide, commodity boards are driven by the stakeholders. For example, California Walnut, American Dairy Association,
Hmm.
US Association, or Canola Board of Canada, Australia Wheat Board, they're all commodity boards only. So they are driven by the key stakeholders, or even this Denmark I referred in the beginning, Danish Association of Food and Agriculture, that's also in a way commodity board. So
Yeah.
they are driven by the stakeholders, the management is by the stakeholders, and they do number one, quality improvement. Because if they have to compete at the international market, they help their members to go for varietal change and go for the production efficiency and improvement. Second, they
Hmm.
solve the logistics and supply chain and value chain. Third, they work on policy agenda. That what
Hmm.
are the policies? They liaise closely with the state government and this federal government to see that the correct policies which can help them unleash their potential. Then they go around the world to promote that if you eat almonds from California, this has this value. If you take our canola from Canada, this has got these benefits. So then they go internationally promoting their products. So
Okay.
national level, ecosystem management, the production efficiency and improvement in the variety and quality, the supply
Hmm.
chain improvement, and then they do a lot of promotional work.
Yes.
So put together, they maximize the market access for their producers.
Got
And
it.
through greater market access, they get greater margin in that and more profitability comes to that. So this is how it's simple. So state level boards have to be created more under the, by the stakeholders themselves, but to be assisted and managed by the some professional body like ICFA can be one very unique body that can
Hmm.
actually run all these commodity boards.
Khan, you said that, though maybe in a lighter vein to the Prime Minister, that you double the MSP and farmers' income will be doubled. But that option is not available because the moment you raise the MSP, the food prices go up, and that's not the government effort is to keep the food prices in check and keep the food affordable, food grains affordable. Now, that being so, the option of inducting more private players, more buyers in agriculture mandis, agriculture markets, is also not very viable because the farmers that, as I said, the 85%, 86% and small and marginal farmers, they apprehend that they have no powers to negotiate with the private buyers, and they cannot negotiate. They have this apprehension, and this happens also. It's not that it doesn't happen, that they are exploited by the private players. Now, how do we check? We surely need more buyers. We surely need private players in agriculture marketing, but how do we see that the small and marginal farmers are not exploited by the private buyers, private players in the agriculture markets? That's a big policy impediment or big policy challenge for the policymakers as well as big concern for the farmers.
Sir, again, it comes back to the same. Private parties are driven by the power of profitability. Wherever there is a profitability, they are there uninvited, and where there is no profits, no matter how much invitation you extend, so that doesn't work. So what will work is that how we are able to compete at the marketplace in terms of our cost of production. Supposing the international market is $400 and we are able to produce anything in $350, that means there is a $50 margin available that may take care of $10 logistics, storage, and all. All private sector people, they will jump into the state, even bribing the people that allow us to be there because there is a margin. They are driven by that. If that is not there, then government is left holding the baby. More the production, the surplus will be holding that baby.
But Mr. Khan, you will appreciate, sorry, I am interrupting you, but you will appreciate profitability, profit making is different from profiteering. The issue is profiteering at the cost of farmers. Profiteering is an offense. Profiteering leads to exploitation of farmers. Profiteering makes the food expensive. I mean, that the 400% or 200% margins you were talking, the producer gets less, whereas the consumer pays more. That profiteering needs to be statutorily checked, and farmers need to be protected against, not against profits, against profiteering. Will you agree on that?
No, sir, not at all. The first time I am completely disagreeing with you. The reason is simple that if there are multiple players, profiteering is not possible because profiteering is when there is a monopoly. So when there is an open market, then everybody is there to buy from there. So that is one. Second, in case there is some kind of cartel formation, the state can surely come to know that how these companies are operating in tandem through the cartel formation. Then they can be called and scolded. What happens in the case of sugar mills in Uttar Pradesh, I see that whenever such situation government see, they call off all of them and they scold them that please correct it, otherwise we are going to take action against you. So either there is a delay in payment to the farmers or any such kind of things happen, the sugarcane commissioner or the secretary sugar he will call, and in no uncertain terms
Still, there is a need to regulate the market. Now, you need to keep a watch even on the private players that they do not indulge in cartel formation or in conglomeration, and with a view to take benefit of producers being small in terms of their capacity. So, if some kind of a regulation, market regulations would still be required.
No, sir. Market regulation, the moment that kind of administration starts, there will be problem, practical problem. And so the best thing is what you said, the first part of it, that government need to have intelligence gathering. They need to keep a watch on that. And surely no private sector will have the courage or capacity to defy what the state wishes to. So that power will always be the state authorities to intervene and to actually course correct if anything is going wrong. But regulating mandis, this has been a story for too long. I think nowhere in the world now. I
But
think
will it not be very dangerous to have undefined authorities instead of well-defined regulations?
regulation may still not. The authorities in any case will rest with the state government. Whether there is any law or no law, the collector's powers remain unquestioned. So that is always there. Now I'm telling you one good example how this can be managed. In Philippines, there is a system. There is a minimum procurement price and there is a maximum sale price, and there is a bandwidth in that all the key operators, their profits are sufficient margin is there. For example, minimum procurement price of, let us say, tomato is rupees 10, and my price negotiation board or such mechanism is there, that how much is going to be the transit losses, how much is going to be the cost of storage and the transportation and the margin of distributors and dealers. It all comes to, let's say, 7 rupees. So the maximum sale price is 20 rupees, still 3 rupees more for some more profit to come to these people, because sometimes there may be not so much profit coming. So the consumer doesn't have to pay 5 times more, he has to pay only 2 times more, and the producer also gets sufficiently good margin. So the price advisory, in case of India, we had thought of under ICFA, somehow we could not launch it, but we had done fairly good homework. This price negotiation council will form. In that, we'll invite the key stakeholders of each of the commodities. Commodity wise, it has to work, and the other stakeholders in that, so that once we have a discussion done, then this ensures fair price to the producer and this ensures fair price to all of you, given the market ruling prices. So based on that, then we come out with the recommendations. This is what the procurement price is going to be, and this is what the maximum sale price in the marketplace should be, so that consumer also knows that he doesn't have to pay beyond it, and all of them they are taken care of through that. So price negotiation council, and there was also one agriculture price administration something was. So anyway, so the idea was that institutional mechanism which should not be under government, where the free and fair discussion takes place and the understanding of the commercial nuances and the intricacies are there. Based on that, all key stakeholders should benefit and feel happy about it. Like if you see the mission statement or of any corporate, the mission statement will always start that we ensure fair sharing among all the stakeholders, our suppliers, our buyers, our this, that, our investors and all. So similar kind of thing, I think, will be more healthy. And
In this context, Dr. Khan, is there any discussion on the price deficiency support to the farmers? Number one. And second concept is fixing the margins of the producers and fixing the margins for the traders in the agriculture markets.
So the examples of Madhya Pradesh and Haryana are before us. There is a cost to that. Somebody has to pay to that. So one is the cost of these deficiencies and the deficits and the gaps, and then the cost of administration. So what happens is that unnecessarily the cost of administration is added. Is a too much cost at times it comes. So it is better to evolve a mechanism which is determined by the forces of the market instead of state government intervening and stepping in, and at the cost of the ultimately you and me have to pay for that. So whether would be more efficient way of managing that with lesser of the state interventions, so that the cost of administration is substantially reduced on that, or there is no cost of administration. Virtually it can never be the zero, practically it can never be the zero. So that kind of formula has to work. So what I am suggesting is that like commodity boards which are successful around the world, here also the pricing system or the procurement and sale price mechanism and the formula that can be evolved, it also should be driven by the stakeholders, and they can come together to form a price council or whatever commission. I think in private sector we cannot name it, but some such kind of institutional mechanism can be formed where the government is not burdened with that. However, if there is any problem or support needed, we can always reach out to the government. This is what we actually need to deliver this much to. So this, I believe,
Dr.
maybe more
Khan, one question, commodity boards you mentioned. Now, if we look at Denmark, if we look at other countries, Canada, canola you mentioned, these commodity boards or these organizations kind of grew organically and naturally from amongst the producers. Why do you think in India that has not happened, or why do you think in India we need government intervention to get these bodies up?
See, in India, if we see the evolution of agriculture sector, there is we can divide into two, three phases, and then also by the stakeholders that are involved. One is pre 1967, the pre-green revolution era, and then the post-green revolution era when the market yards and the state procurement system all came up.
Yes.
So agriculture has been, before that it was a subsistence farming kind. It was not a kind of what we look at agriculture in an organized way. So governments mentally and otherwise, everybody remained under this mental conditioning that the agriculture is the government's responsibility, whatever we are able to produce because of the deficit situation. So
Yeah.
the private sector, the need or scope and this thing, incentive for people to come together to innovate and to create, that was never there. Private sector was happy in marketing, producing and marketing the inputs. That's they are
Yes.
today they are happy doing that. So new age institutions emerge. They emerge one that government driven like FPOs. It is a government driven success story, or the ACABCs, primarily the government again. Now the new age startups, they are going into building the businesses, their own enterprises, and not this kind of creation of this. So farmers have not been, it is only the Maharashtra which holds the hope because there, or the Karnataka, where the farmers are very innovative, and to some extent maybe Tamil Nadu also.
Hmm.
North Indian farmers have a different mental condition, a different kind of exposure. Fortunately, if you see, there is one success example of a commodity board, that is Mahagrapes in Maharashtra. That is actually exact example of how a commodity board can be successful in terms of creating the impact on the members.
Hmm.
How ordinary farmers from Maharashtra become the exporters of the grapes
Yeah.
are many more commodities. And today, the country's largest FPO, I was there last month at the first time at this thing, farm. It is about 2,200 crore business enterprise. And if you see this facilities and premises, that looks better than any multinational company's headquarters, I'm sorry, facilities you visit. Such a wonderful. So Mahagrapes is a most successful commodity board created by the stakeholders themselves, supported by the then state government headed by Mr. Sharad Pawar, and the Maharashtra Agro Industries Corporation was probably mandated to support it. They did it. So today, look at the exports from of grapes from Maharashtra.
Dr. Khan, I think far too many issues in agriculture and we can go on and on. But one last question before Arpit sums it up is that the whole agriculture transformation sees there are a lot of challenges in it, a lot of issues in it. Farmers are endlessly on the roads protesting all the time. And the overall situation in agriculture production in agriculture sector has changed from a deficit economy we become a surplus economy, and the whole market and growth dynamics have changed. In that situation, since Green Revolution, and more importantly, even since independence, we've had only one National Commission on Agriculture. Don't you think, do you agree that the time is opportune now to have a second National Agriculture Commission to have a relook at the agriculture policies, agriculture production systems, agriculture marketing systems, the condition of the farmers, the how do we ensure farmers' welfare, how do we see that agriculture market gets aligned not only the at national level but even in international level. So, will you agree that the government of India should now think of setting up a second National Agriculture Commission for a fresh look at the agriculture and food policies?
Surely, I'm in agreement on this because agriculture has changed a lot since the last Agriculture Commission was formed. In between, we had a Farmers Commission, but the idea of Farmers Commission was that all the agriculture policies should be a little more oriented to farmers' welfare. Based on its recommendations, the Prime Minister, I think first Independence Day or second, I don't recall it correctly, either 2014 or 15, this current government, current PM, announced Department of Farmers Welfare. But there is no secretary of the Department of Farmers Welfare. There is definitely no staff and no joint secretary, nothing. So it is only announcement done. And renaming of the ministry happened. Ministry has renamed from Ministry of Agriculture and Cooperation to Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare.
Yes.
So beyond that, nothing has happened. So anyway, that's a little distraction. There is a need because the substantial change has happened from what we were production deficit country and to production surplus, and the challenge of ensuring the profit to the farmers through better integration to the market, and then the technology development. No one had heard of the digital technologies in agriculture. We thought these technologies are for the labs and for the automobile sector and all that. So massive intervention, and future agriculture is going to be the robotized agriculture. So the robotics are set to play a big role in the next 10 years time. And so a lot of change has happened. There's a global integration, there's a trade focus, and the surplus situation. So all that put together definitely, necessitates creation of or the constitution of a new agriculture commission, which should look at more the global opportunities and global best examples, how they can be integrated, and what agenda setting also, what agriculture should be, future outlook in 10 years time, 25 years time, 50 years time, and what are the structural reforms and changes that we can do now to best integrate with the market and to ensure best returns to the farmers.
So the council would be willing to recommend to Government of India that a second National Agriculture Commission is required for a fresh look at the agriculture policies, systems, and reforms possible to align the markets, to align the agriculture growth with the global growth paradigm.
Surely, I think this is an idea that you have given in the discussions. I'll pass on to the new management because now the ICFA is chaired by former Union Minister, Mr. Suresh, who was minister in Vajpayee government and who served in the Modi government as well. Some 12 or 11 or 12 ministries he headed. We'll convey him also, but I see a lot of merit in that. So it is not only the integrating globally, it is also better integrating the policies and programs nationally. With the capacity building of the state government, their exposure, and then the district government and the frontline people who we were talking about in the earlier, under a different question, that how the capacity building are the frontliners in the government who are actually delivering the administration to the last mile. So they have to be. So both in terms of enhancing the efficiency of the governance and administration in agriculture, whether it is the subsidy distribution or whether it's the input or quality and for two better programs and policy at the state by the state government, which can be more effective, to how best aligned with the central government, and all this ecosystem how best aligns with the key actors now outside the government. Because earlier government was the only actor, if not the only actor, it was the principal actor. Today, it may still technically be the principal actor, but practically there are a lot more actors who are occupying more predominant position in overall agriculture as far as the contribution is concerned, and then the globally. So surely, I think this is definitely one very powerful idea that I think whose time has come.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Khan. Such an interesting and intricate discussion. I'm sure, as things progress, we'll hope to have you back on this podcast to take a stock check on how things have progressed over the next few years. But for this one, thank you so much and a great discussion. Thank you.